What is up, guys, and welcome to Monday's video. I thought I'd kick it off with something I don't do very often at all, and that is a screen recording. So as you guys know, I've been asking for your requests, your video requests, quite a lot, and I've had a couple of people say, Tom, we've seen recently the applications that you use on your Mac Pro, but we have not yet seen what's in your dock and the applications that you use on your MacBook Pro. Can you please do a what's in my dock on your new Retina MacBook Pro? And I thought, you know what? It's definitely a cool video to make. Not everyone likes them, but it's a blast from the past, and I definitely want to show you guys what apps I use on my Retina MacBook Pro. Now, just as a warning, I don't have radically different choices in apps when it comes to using my portable machine. A load of it's the same as it was on the Mac Pro, but there are some significant differences as well. Also, a little side note, I haven't done one of these on a laptop for many a year, and I'm getting quite nostalgic here because it's a little bit like sitting in front of my white MacBook doing a what's in my dock. I used to do them regularly back in the day because they were more popular back in the day, but I'm actually using the built-in microphone on the Retina MacBook Pro for two reasons. One, just because it makes me feel really nostalgic, and two, because I want to see what it's like, because I haven't really used it yet. So I'm very curious, and hopefully the audio turns out okay. So of course, random nostalgia aside and rambling aside, let's try and get on with this video, and let's take a look at all the applications that I use and the applications that are in my dock. So as you guys can probably tell, by default I have my dock hidden on my MacBook Pro. Just gives me more screen space. I don't see the point in having it on the screen at all times, but for the purposes of this video I will bring it up. And you guys can probably already tell that loads of the applications are similar on here and my Mac Pro. So let's get started. First up, we have the Finder. Obviously it's the Finder, there it is. I actually like the Finder in Yosemite a lot. There's still a long way for the Finder to go before it's a perfect way to browse your files, but me and the Finder, we get on very well, and I've been friends with this guy now since, well, 2007, 2008, whenever I got my white MacBook, so I'm very comfortable in Finder, and I welcome all the changes that they've made since Tiger, which was the first OS that I properly used from day to day on the Mac side of things. The App Store. Now, the App Store is a change they've made to OS X that I'm not sure if I'm that impressed with. I like the idea of it, and it is very cool that it's the same on iOS and stuff, and it brings this seamless updating and all this cool stuff. But I just haven't fallen for it yet, and to be perfectly honest, my main place to go for search for applications is still Google, just because Google gives you that online community where you can read on a forum about an application and stuff like that. So I don't use the App Store a lot. If I know the app is in the App Store, then I'll get it there because it's normally a nice quick download, and it's, you know, it's safe and it's good, and you don't have to have a browser open and blah blah blah. But the App Store is the App Store. I have it there because it, you know, it's here to stay. But yeah, I'm not in there every day or whatever. I know a lot of people love the Mac App Store, but I'm just not that sold on it. But then again, I do like it because it is very good for new computer users. If they're coming from an iPhone or an iPad and they've used one of those for a couple of years and they decide to buy a Mac, the whole term App Store is very easy to understand, and you know, it brings in everything with this Quick Look or whatever it's called, not Quick Look, what the hell is this called, Launchpad. It brings everything really quite seamlessly together, so it's easy for new users to understand, because, you know, Googling for DMGs and then installing them that way could be complicated for some people. I don't know. The App Store's cool, makes things easy for people, but it's just not my cup of tea. That was a crazy amount of rambling for a default application. Next up we have iCal. Now, whoa, I've just realised it's actually called Calendar. So yeah, they are changing names of Mac applications over the years. It's been called iCal for years and years, but now it's called Calendar. So that's interesting. Yeah, it's a great application. I've used it for many a year now. I've probably used it for about 5 years. Since I've really started, you know, felt the need to put things into a calendar. Now, what's really cool with this is I do have it synced up with everything, but of course, because I have a HTC phone, an Android phone then, I actually sync through Google instead of iCloud. Now, when I set up iCloud and try to get everything working and that, I had various syncing issues because I was trying to use Google at the same time. So that is definitely another reason why getting an iPhone again would be a good choice, just so everything I had was Apple, because as you guys know, I've got the Mac Pro, I've got this MacBook Pro, and of course I've got the iPad mini now, which I love. But yeah, the whole Android phone thing just makes syncing and stuff a little bit harder. But it's still very possible, especially now that OS X fully supports Google. So coming over, next we have Twitter. Now this is just a basic Twitter app for Mac, nothing too exciting here. I'm not a heavy Twitter user. If I was, I'd use something a bit better, but this does everything I want it to, and it's a nice, light and easy to use application, so I do enjoy Twitter. I've actually been using it for a long time now. I think since it came out. I used Twirl. Twirl ran on Adobe Air. I used that for a very long time, but I don't even think that's around anymore. So yeah, Twitter is definitely a cool application. I enjoy it. Next up, we have Mail. Mail is an interesting app. It's been with me since the start. I loved the idea of getting my email on the desktop without signing into a web browser. It was such a cool phenomenon to me, and something that I'd never experienced on Windows. I know you can get mail clients on Windows, obviously, you know, with Outlook or whatever, but when I got a Mac, I just wanted to sign up for Mail because the application looked really cool and easy to use, and it still is to this day. Now, I know a lot of heavy users get problems with Apple Mail, but I've never really had a problem with it. It's always been really great to me, and I did a tutorial back in, I think, 2009, which was how to get Google Mail working on Mail for Mac before Macs legitimately supported Google. So that was great, and believe it or not, it still gets views and comments to this day, and that was on Tiger. So yeah, pretty interesting there. But Mail, it's been great, and yeah, I can't see myself stop using it anytime soon, if that sentence even made sense. Next up we have Skype. I haven't used it on this machine yet, but I installed it on here because I had a scheduled Skype call that I was going to use my MacBook Pro for, and then that call got cancelled. So I haven't used it on here yet, but I'm keeping it in the dock because I know it's one of those applications that you'll just need all the time. I actually had a Skype convo the other day with James on my Mac Pro, and I was using my Blue Snowball and stuff, and I wasn't even, you know, it was just an audio call because I haven't got a long enough cable for my eyesight yet. But it was just so cool because I hadn't Skyped in a while. I just forget how cool this stuff is. I used to use audio and video calling much more when iChat was around. I heavily used iChat. But when it wasn't around anymore, I never really got into FaceTime because I didn't have an iOS device at the time. And then, you know, Skype became the dominating thing, and I don't really use that a lot. So yeah, really interesting. And as you guys can probably tell, even from the first little bit of my dock, I'm really living in the past. I've now turned into one of those Mac users that actually gets kind of, you know, well, gets nostalgic when we think about the old, simpler versions of OS X before they made all these changes. Don't get me wrong, OS X gets better with every release. Well, debatable with Lion. I mean, Snow Leopard was a lot better than Lion in my opinion. But yeah, I do get quite nostalgic. It's a bit odd, and when they drop things like iChat, I completely understand why, you know, with the messages and with FaceTime and everything, but, you know, iChat was so cool, and I loved it back in the day. Anyway, moving on, Google Chrome. As you guys know from, hopefully, my MacBook Pro first impressions video, I think it was, I have been trying to use Safari a little bit more because of the whole battery implication thing, but as you guys can probably tell, there is no Safari in my dock, so I am still using Chrome. I much prefer it. I use Chrome on the desktop, but the light at the end of the tunnel is I use Safari on the iPad. So I may be switching to Safari on the Mac as well. You never know. I haven't used Safari as my main browser in a good few years now. Google Chrome wasn't on PowerPC, but I've got a feeling that I've begun using Google Chrome as my main browser when I got the Mac Pro back in 2011. That's my slight hunch. I'm not too sure. I may have used Safari on there for a year or so, but Google Chrome, I've been using it for a long time now, and as much as I am complaining about the syncing and stuff with my Android phone, it's only my fault for having the Apple stuff. I believe that the entire Google ecosystem as well, with Google Drive and the Gmail service and everything that Google do with syncing is very, very good. I like Google stuff a lot, but, you know, iCloud is also very, very good and better in lots of ways. So, you know, as you guys can probably tell, I'm doing this video maybe at a bad time because I'm going through lots of debates in my mind, but it's interesting because we're having quite long discussions about every application. Over the next few apps, they're probably going to get shorter discussions. Spotify has become a staple in lots of people's dock, especially if you're into music. As you guys know, I'm heavily into music. Music is a big part of my life, and that makes Spotify a big part of my life. I think it's great. It's come on a long way over the years. The quality of audio is pretty damn good for what it is, and the features that they're releasing are very good. But just so you guys know, I don't use Spotify to store playlists and get offline playlists and do this and do that. I simply use it to look for new music, or to look for a song that I haven't heard in years, or just search a song in good quality and listen to it a few times maybe. I still really pride myself on the fact that I get all music. Like if I buy a piece of vinyl, I get a digital download code and I import everything to iTunes, or if I get a CD, I'll import it to iTunes, or if I buy it somewhere else, then I have a big iTunes library of music. I do not use Spotify as my library. iTunes is still my library, and it has been for years and years and years and years and years. I've used iTunes for as long as I can remember, guys, to do this very thing. And I've been growing my library for so long that I'm just so proud of it. It's not the biggest iTunes library in the world. I've added a lot of music recently because I've been doing a couple of extra, well, I did this party the other day and stuff, it's a long story. But I've got 78 point something gigabytes of music in there at the moment, and my total iTunes library size is just over 450 gigabytes because of the movies and TV shows. But that's another thing. I have stopped collecting movies and TV shows in iTunes for now, just because I don't have a Blu-ray drive on my computer and I want to rip Blu-rays to it, and I don't have the hard drive space. So the movies has taken a back seat for now. The TV shows hasn't, however. If there's a series that I want to buy, then I do still use convert it and put it into iTunes, rather than just keeping it in random file folders, because iTunes, despite what everyone says about its proprietary formats and everything, it's a very good central hub to keep your media. So yeah, that's iTunes. And I can't believe I ranted that long about iTunes, because everyone knows what bloody iTunes is. Anyway, coming up next, we have DJ Pro. And I'll actually open it for you guys. I've recently acquired this application. I used to use DJ a while ago. Well, a very long time ago, actually. I've got an update. Remind me later. This is DJ Pro. The cool thing is they've added some sound effects and stuff from when I was using it, and it is generally just a really handy application. So simple to use, much easier to use than things like Virtual DJ and stuff. And also it works with Spotify, so if you do want to use Spotify tracks, then you can, which is great. Now, the reason I've got this is because I don't really do discos anymore, but if I do, it's very handy. I've got it on the iPad as well, so it's so handy on there just to get properly cross-faded songs. I normally do an auto mix playlist, and I did a party 2 days ago. I did an 18th birthday party, and I used this application, and it was absolutely solid all night. I used it back in the day, first when it came out, the first version. It's come on a long way, but it still hasn't overcomplicated itself. It's fabulous. Coming up next, we have an application called QLab. Now, QLab is something that I use very rarely, but when I do use it, it's a godsend. It's basically the best central hub for all of your cues. Anything that you can see on a stage or hear on a stage, QLab can generate. Now, of course, it relies a lot on external hardware. If you want to get other things happening, if you want to get certain video stuff happening, okay, you've got to have sometimes, it depends on where you set it up. You know, you can just plug a projector into your Mac, and you can plug, you know, your Mac into your sound desk, and you know, you can do all sorts of things, and you can just cue stuff, and it's great. But QLab is so powerful that it can talk to all this cool stuff. I've only scratched the surface of it. I've got friends that have used it much more than I have, but it's a very handy application. Even if you just want to play simple sound effects or whatever in a specific order. If you guys think of a cue stack on a lighting desk with a big go button, that's basically what QLab is. It's like a giant computerized cue stack, but it works with audio, video, and everything you want. So it's great. QLab is great, and it's come on a long way over the past couple of years. Here we have Logic Pro 10. Now, you guys are probably shocked to see Logic Pro 10 on my laptop, because as you guys know, my Studio Mac is still a Power Mac G5. You know, proud of that. Love G5s in studios, and everyone knows that they're a beast when it comes to audio. But Logic Pro 10, of course, they're not backwards compatible properly. So it's not a very good choice to install Logic Pro 10 on my Mac, but I installed it two reasons. Reason number one was because it was easier to obtain than getting an older version to try and run on Yosemite properly. And reason number two was I was curious to try the latest version. Now, I extensively used Logic Pro 9, extensively, on my 17-inch MacBook Pro, and got very comfortable with Logic, but I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable with Logic Pro 10 as well, just to keep myself updated, because it's very easy if you're running older versions of applications all the time. It's okay with consumer stuff if you want to do that, but if you're doing it with pro stuff and you want to try and get like a job in the industry somewhere, you need to be aware of all the latest versions and how they work. So I kind of installed it on here for experimental reasons. I kind of wish I installed it on my Mac Pro on my desktop, just so it was more out of the way, because, you know, it takes up quite a bit of space with all of its plugins and audio samples and stuff on this Mac. But it is very handy if I want to record a gig on the road. Now, I've only recorded one gig using this computer on the road since I've had the laptop, and I would have recorded more if I would have got round to buying a Firewire adapter sooner, just to work with interfaces and stuff. But as you guys know, I may be getting Intel in the studio. We don't know what's going to happen. If I do get Intel in the studio, then Logic Pro 10 will be going up in the studio as well. So I'll have full backwards compatibility between Logic Pro 10 in the studio and on the road. So that's the story behind Logic. I don't do any mixing or anything like that on, you know, I never launch a blank canvas Logic Pro 10 on this computer. Everything like that is always done in the studio on Logic Pro 8, because the older versions are obviously still extremely capable and actually better in some ways. So, moving on, Final Cut Pro 10. I edit some videos on the road. I edit probably every 10 videos you guys see, I may edit 2 on this computer. It's got less and less actually, but I was doing quite a lot last year. Last time I did 5 videos a week, but it's kind of hard to tell at the moment. I think I've the last couple of weeks edited all of them on the Mac Pro, but it's very handy to have this because I can edit videos in work really quickly if I've got a spare 10-15 minutes. I can edit videos on a bus, I can edit videos anywhere I like without feeling bad about my computer because I'm not spinning any hard drives, and it's just very quick and snappy. So Final Cut Pro 10 on the road, great. And Final Cut Pro 10 in general, yeah, great. I think people are calming down about Final Cut Pro 10 now. It's definitely getting, you know, a better rep than it did when it was released, and quite right so as well. They released it too early. The features that they've added now should have been in there from the start. But anyway, great video editor. I use it on the desktop as well, and I've been using it for a good couple of years now. Next up we have Handbrake. As you guys know, I use Handbrake as, well, I pretty much use it to convert everything, especially my YouTube videos. This will crunch down my YouTube videos from about 3 gigabytes to about 750 megabytes, and that's if they're half an hour in length. So, you know, if anything is shorter than that, then I can get a very small video file size, thanks to Handbrake, with all the correct settings that I want, in still very good quality considering my connection. So Handbrake is a godsend. I also use it to get all of my movies and TV shows into iTunes, because Handbrake knows exactly what format's what, etc, etc. It's very easy to use. Toast Titanium 10, it's got a lot in common with Handbrake, but it does a couple of things better, and it does a couple of things worse. One of the things it does worse is the interface. It's got one of these stupid interfaces. It's quite old school by today's standards. But, you know, the interface is still easy to use. It's just got random options in random places. But the cool thing about Toast is it guides you through things. Now, there is a new version of Toast that I would like to get. I just haven't got round to getting it yet, and, you know, I'm not sure how much it costs and stuff at the moment. But Toast 10 is great. I've been using it for ages. I normally use it for burning DVDs. I do some video work. I haven't done much in a while. I do some video work for, you know, clients and stuff outside of YouTube, and they'll always want DVDs, so I use it to burn DVDs. I'm looking forward to getting the next Toast option. Oh, I do have a plugin for this as well, guys, which is it's in a right-hand menu, so I can just burn it with Toast and that. Right-click on the Finder and burn it with Toast straight from the Finder. That's very, very cool. But yeah, it's a great application. The rest of the suite is also quite handy. There's a cool, simple little disc cover application that I used to use quite a lot, but it makes cool covers. It hasn't got loads of flexibility, but if you want to do one quick, some of the presets are actually very good and editable as well. So yeah, that's a nice little application, and it covers every part of your disc as well, and the spine to the case, as you guys can see. So yeah, that's really good as well. So That's all the video stuff on this computer, a lot less than on my Mac Pro, I believe. You know, I don't do as much on here. Next up we have Photoshop. I am a very basic Photoshop user, as you guys know. My skill on YouTube is definitely when I'm on the camera. It's not for the kind of stuff that I do with thumbnails and banners and icons. You know, I really pretty much suck at all that design work. But I still need Photoshop to actually do my thumbnails because I do not have enough money yet to pay someone else to do all of my design work. So, I've still got to try and sort of find my own way through. And yeah, Photoshop I've got a lot better at over the years, but you know, Photoshop's just Photoshop, so whatever. I don't use it in any kind of artistic way. I just basically use it to bung text over the top of pictures and change some brightness levels and various things like that. Next up we have the iWork suite. Now, I used to worship iWork. When I was in school, I used iWork 09 on my PowerBook G4 religiously. And when I was in college, I used iWork 09 on my 17-inch MacBook Pro. It was beastly, absolutely awesome. But this new version that's, you know, comes integrated with the iOS applications and stuff, and it works with the web versions and that, don't get me wrong, that's incredibly powerful technology and it works awesomely from what I hear. But these applications are stripped back, especially Pages. Pages has been stripped of everything that could have made it into the professional league of word processors. Pages is now far inferior to Word. Now, you cannot win on a Mac at the moment, in my opinion, because Microsoft Word for Mac is complete and utter shit. I'm so sorry about saying that word, guys, but it is. Office for Mac sucks, in my opinion. It's horrendously optimized and it's just so sluggish, but all the features are there. So if you want the features, they're there, but they just don't have that smooth Mac app feeling about them. Pages was always a cure for that, and it's still a great application if you just want a simple word processor, but it is missing essential features in this latest version. As for Keynote, not 100% sure, don't extensively use it, but I think it's still okay. Numbers, I don't actually choose to use Numbers, it's just in there to match the rest of the suite. As you guys can probably tell, I use Microsoft Excel. I use Excel to manage all of my finances. As you guys know, I'm self-employed, so I use it to manage my expense and my income and all of this stuff. And I actually have my Excel folder where all of my files and documents that I need for Excel stored on Dropbox. So I access them on any computer that I need, anywhere, and because it's Excel, it's industry standard, so it's very easy to do so, because I'll often need access to this document. So that's very important to me, and Excel is a good way forward. Text edit. Text edit is very plain and simple, as you guys know. I have a collection of text edit documents from the years gone by. I've never got rid of any of them. Just random lists of stuff, and you know, text edit is a bit of a nightmare because sometimes I launch it and it pops up with 6 or 7 text edit documents that I've got to try and find a place to save and that. And I'm not quite sure about all this duplication and all this stuff, or whatever it is. I still haven't got used to that, even though we've had it since, what, Mountain Lion. But yeah, text edit, great app, and it's never let me down. Coming up next, we have Calculator. Bare Basic Calculator. Surprising how much I use it, especially since I've been doing all of my own, you know, finances and stuff like that, like I was saying. Screen sharing. Screen sharing is simply so that I can access my Mac Mini server on my MacBook Pro if I need to access the GUI for any reason. If there's something that I can't do any other way, screen sharing is a very handy way to do that. Also, if I'm downstairs or whatever and I want to access my Mac Pro, I can just access my Mac Pro through screen sharing as well, and it makes life a lot easier than walking up the stairs. Call me lazy, but there's technology here to help me do it, so why the hell not? Transmission. Transmission has been my torrent client of choice for as long as I can remember now, and Transmission just keeps getting better and better as well. It's very quick, very easy to use, very sleek. I like it a lot. It's got every feature that I need from torrents, and yeah, say what you will about torrents, guys, but torrenting is still a fantastic service if you're using it for legal things, that is, and there's just some things that it can't replace it. It's a great, cheap, inexpensive way to share files. So yeah, Transmission, people see it as a bad thing to have in your dock, but torrents are still very capable, so just choose the way you use them. I mean, you know, over the years, I've got some stuff off there that I shouldn't have but you know, times have been hard. Now that I'm earning more money and I'm not in school and college anymore, then I have a little bit less of an excuse to torrent things like applications, but some applications are just way too expensive for people even like me with light use. So yeah, I actually shouldn't be getting into this right now. Next up, we have Disk Utility. Disk Utility is a godsend, and I use it all the time. It's pretty much, I actually can't say why it's in my dock, but it's work related, and with pen drives we get sent, but I use it for so many different things, burning DMGs and making bootable disks and all this cool stuff. Disk Utility is fantastic. I wouldn't swap it for anything. Windows really needs a default application like Disk Utility. It makes life so much easier. And then we have System Preferences. I never know why I have it in my dock, because I always access it from up here, but I just have it there. I have no idea why. Then of course QuickTime is never in there, but I'm recording this now. Downloads folder and trash. So that is my dock on my MacBook Pro, guys. Very simple, as you guys can see. Lots of applications that I use on my Mac Pro as well. And I know this video has had a lot of rambling and talking, so that's why I'm not going to do a massive outro clip. Of course, huge thank you to everyone that requested this video. I only got about 3 or 4 requests for it, but it was one that I wanted to make anyway, and it's a simple one to make, so I thought I'd get it out the way. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope you guys have been intrigued by my dock. Now, I'm sure every application in here is extremely common, and you haven't learned much about what applications that may benefit you. But if there is anything that you're unsure about in my dock and you want to find out more about it, and Google won't give you any answers, then feel free to leave a comment, and I'll do my best to describe to you what I use that specific application for and how I use it to benefit myself. So again, huge thank you for watching, everyone. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Of course, it's only Monday, so there's 4 more videos to come this week. All sorts of different stuff. This is a variety channel. You'll get a variety of stuff just like always, but I thought I'd show you my dock to kick things off. So huge thank you, everyone. Of course, I will see you in tomorrow's video.